Before I start this list, I'd like to give all praise and honor to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, or Kakwadash, double on to the Apostle Elzegir Millstone, who ruled in the T12. Shalom to 144,000 men that especially believe in this word and all truth and sincerity and sacrifice their lives and wills to do so. Shalom to the men, women, and children that's tuning in and listening. And shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad on all four corners of the earth. The Heavenly Father name is Yahweh. His only begotten Son name is Yahweh Shai. And Lord, when this video is edifying, quick and straight to the point. This video will be entitled Being Hellenized. What is being Hellenized and what could it mean? And I titled this like this because recently I was going over Maccabees and whatnot, and not just going over it, but reflecting on, what Hellenization is. And also, last few videos I've done has been about some history, and continuing off of that history that's very important. Being Hellenized explains a lot of the reasons why, or one of the biggest reasons why, we're in this state now. We ultimately gone astray from the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father, and ultimately, over the course of time and history, we went through so many captivities. We began to lose ourselves, lost our heritage, lost our connection with the Heavenly Father until Yahweh Shai came back on the scene. So that's another important thing too. Being Hellenized is only results to us in death, and that's what we going through right now a little bit. You got to think, we grew up like strangers, really. We grew up not knowing the Heavenly Father's name. We grew up, some of us ain't grow up keeping the laws. We ain't grow up being circumcised. We didn't grow up being taught in the way of our in the way of who we should be. So when you become Hellenized, you begin to lose your, I don't want to say lose your nationality, but lose who you are. And, when Yahweh Shai came back, he ultimately brought us back to the Heavenly Father. Well, and that's another thing, too. And that's a whole nother video within the video. Because if Yahweh Shai ain't come back, we'll still be fucked up. But this Hellenization period happened between the time period of the Greeks. And it stems to today because why? A lot of us didn't know who most individuals that are in this truth did not know who they was growing up. Some brothers may have grew up in the truth quite literally. Some brothers may grow up through literally quite being born in it. Some brothers might have, learned that some brothers came in at the age of 11, 12, whatnot. So, some brothers have, but not fully as we should be. So this video right here is focused on Hellenization. I'm gonna get this. This is gonna be really a history lesson video, but I'm gonna get this definition of Hellenization. This is the AI overview. Hellenization is also known as Hellenism. Refers to the spread and adoption of Greek culture, language, and customs into non-Greek regions, and not just non-Greek regions, non-Greek people. So you have to think, who was those people that was Hellenized? And you're going to find out. Particularly after Alexander the Great conquest in the 1st century BCE, the process involved the blending of Greek traditions with existing local cultures. And, guess what? Jake gave into all of that. Jake wanted to be like the Greeks. And it didn't help because the Romans got taken over by the Greeks. So everything they learned from the Greeks, the Romans took that and built upon that. Then boom, after that, Jake took over for a period of time. But then that's a hell of a lot of time. But you got to realize within those generations upon generations of men and women and children being born, you have to realize that what Jake ain't. It don't even take that much for let's say for example, it don't take that much to forget who you are. Some like for example, some Israelites first, second, and some first and second generation Israelites know how to speak Spanish, and then the third generation don't know how to speak a lick of Spanish and English. It don't take that hard for you to lose something, especially if it ain't instilled into you at birth. So that's the thing. That's the mystery. Who was the people that were Hellenized? So, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get into it real quick. This is First Maccabees chapter 1. Now, I'm not going to read this whole chapter because this is a very long and lengthy chapter, but I'm going to hit some of the key points. So, this is during the time period of the Greeks, so Alexander took over and whatnot, and then after him, he had individuals that took over instead. So, this is First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 10, and there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome, and reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, "Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have much. Since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow." And this device pleased them well. So you got to think, with everything, Jake wasn't just the leaders of Israel at this time, which were the Maccabees, which were the Levites. They wasn't just dealing with the heathen around us that was coming against us. They had to deal with wicked Jake too. You had sellouts you had that during the time of Maccabees. You had a lot of sellouts. You had a lot of men that was fighting for the Greeks, and not just that, they was fighting for positions of high priest. That shows you how wicked Jake is. And then it's funny because a lot of those men, in the Greek time period, a lot of those men that were fighting for that position is similar to those in the Roman time period when they was trying to keep their positions in Roman authority. But a lot of these men, a lot of these Israelites, was fighting for that power and position. They was looking for comfort. They wasn't looking to appease the Heavenly Father. And that's what we're dealing with today. You have a lot of Jake that are in high political status and celebrity status and whatnot, fighting to keep their position. And not just that, they selling out for what? For money. And it has not changed. So you have to think of all these generations of being Hellenized. Jake lost their heritage. And they was selling out. And being a seller ain't nothing new. There's many accounts of Israelites being sold out, but this is some of the famous ones. Let me see. Verse 13, then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. So you had Israelites going to get licenses to do as the heathens do what the heathens do. So, okay, I keep reading. Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen. And gyms ain't nothing new. Gyms ain't just, it's a gym, you can go work out. Gyms was freaky back then. Let me just put it like that. Place of exercise, which was gyms. Verse 15, and they made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant. And yet circumcision is one of the key things that make you an Israelite. Now, granted, that ain't the only thing, but it is one of the key things. And you have to be chosen before anything. So, and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. And what? Jake was doing mischief like a motherfucker. You already see Jake doing mischief. Now, so how... Well, it got worse. It's worse now, but if you think Jake was bad back then, Jake is bad now. They love doing mischief. They quick to do evil. They don't think twice about doing something righteous, but they definitely think about. They so wise to do evil. They don't think about, oh well, if I do this, this could happen, and if I upset the Lord, then this. They don't think like that. Jake do not think like that. They think of, oh, how can I fill my belly? How can I be good? How can I and not be good in the sense of like appeasing the Heavenly Father, but how can I make sure I'm good, I'm fed, I got clothes? Jake think like that. So I'm gonna keep jumping down a little bit. So let me see. And you got the 4 generals that was ruling that came out of the Alexander the Greek, or the Great, as they say, was Antiochus, Seleucus, Antiochus, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and then what's the other one? Cassandra. You had them. The Seleucus and Antiochus line. You know, they split. Well, they the same line, but you know, you had those 4 generals ruling at the time, and that's in Daniel's as well. You know, so you had all of these things going on. Oh wait, did I read that evil was multiplied on the earth? Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, okay, yeah. No, I did not. This is First Maccabees chapter 1. I jump up, so like I meant to start there. This First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So they did their sons after them many years, and evils was multiplied in the earth. So with the evils being multiplied in the earth, it was a very wicked time. You gotta think you didn't have righteousness on the earth. You had Edomites ruling, all of that, and that was the time of the Edomites ruling. Then you had Ptolemy and his squad, and you got to think during these times, it wasn't easy for Israelites. You got to think they was getting ambushed by Greeks. Then the Romans was coming into power too, so there was all kinds of stuff going on back then. It was a battle on every side. Then you got to think Jake moving to and fro. You know, you get attacked on every side. You got to flee from one land to the next, flee from one battle to another battle. It wasn't nothing easy for us. That's another thing too. When shit really, when the Lord puts things back in perspective, put things in a righteous way in the earth, all that shit that we went through during the time period of the Greeks, the Romans, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Medes, the Lord ain't forget that. I mean, we might have forgot because we don't remember. And we don't have the spirit to remember all of that, what we individually had went through. But the Lord ain't forget those things. You had Edomites picking us off one by one. You had sellouts, heathens influencing sellouts and all of that. The Lord ain't forget that. We was getting smacked around like what's that damn thing? A bowling pin, man. What's the other? It's a arcade game with the ball and the pin and a bowling pin or ball pin, whatever. We was getting smacked around. That wasn't no good time for Israel. So I'm gonna jump down. Let me see. Actually, let me jump down because it's a lot of good stuff up in here. It's a lot of good history in this. Maccabees have some great history. 34? Okay. Let me see. Actually, from there, I'm going to jump. But I'm going to jump to Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4 real quick. Because even though, we have certain times in history, the Babylonians besieged Jerusalem. You know, we got took into Babylon, and the Persian Mede captivity went in back to Jerusalem. Things like that, you know. But the scriptures repeat itself in multiple different ways. And then not just that, we was able to build a temple again. You know. But anyway, this is Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee. And yeah, guess what Jake did? They discontinued from the heritage. This ain't the first time we discontinued from our heritage. This is one of the biggest times, but this ain't one of the this ain't the only time Jake has done that. And it's only in this captivity we completely been stripped of everything. Now, granted, during the time of the Greek and Romans, they still had traces of it. You know, Jake still was able to know who they are. But now we was completely stripped of our memory, stripped of everything. The Lord was not playing. When we was going to surely drink that cup, he was not playing. We drunk all of that. We drunk going into slavery. We drunk of being all of that. And it ain't just about slavery. It's bigger than that. It's about the that's a good one. The brainwashing of Israel. That's what this was Esau Edoms likes to do. He brainwashed us to the point he beat us until we got Stockholm Syndrome. And we just supposed to forget about that. And it's funny because that was my grandfather's or great whatever. That you still a part of them? And then guess what? Those individuals are the same ones. Okay, let me put it like this: if slavery was slavery still a thing today. But if the heathens was able to do what they was able to do 100 years ago, they would do that shit with a heartbeat. These heathens don't let these heathens fool you. Back in Jeremiah, this is Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 4. And I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not. And yeah, guess what? During the time of Hellenization, it trickles out to now because we're in the same place. We're not in the same place. We're in the place of where we're serving our enemies. We was brought during the Greek time period. You know, obviously we still had Israel. I mean, even though that the heathens was in it. But we still had our land. We wasn't fully expelled out of our land. Well, guess what? A few centuries later, here comes what? 70 AD. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. And yeah, the Lord got tired of our ass. That's what happened. We got our ass kicked. And we had a drink of that shit. We had to deal with that. We pissed the Lord off as a nation. So guess what? That goes into that. That Hellenization period pissed the Lord off. Because Jake was willingly, and it ain't just one, it's multiple Jakes that was doing that shit. It was multiple Jakes giving into that shit. So what you think, that angered the Heavenly Father. So guess what? Got our ass beat. And you notice it's a reoccurring thing. When Israel do something, we get punished for that shit. Regardless of if it's right then and there, a few years later, a few centuries later, we always get punished for it. So instead of we're going to live like the heathen, that's another thing too. Jake loved to live like the heathen. Jake out here still wanting to be like the heathen, and we have examples of why not to be like the heathen. Because why? We gonna get our ass kicked. We gonna lose everything. Not just lose everything we got, but the Lord will strip things away from us. The Lord cut down our lifespan because why? We was being wicked. The Lord kicked us out of Israel because we was being wicked. And worship, idolatry is one of the biggest things. One of the number one thing. Idolatry, adultery. Jake's sodomites. Jake was being sodomites back then too. But anyway, this is back in 1 Maccabees chapter 1. I'll start at verse 30, and I'll pick up at verse 34. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men. And yeah, Jake was having wicked men rule over them, and fortified themselves therein. So they doubled down on that wickedness. They stored it also with they stored it also with the armor and victuals. And when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them there, so they come a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Let me see. Yeah, because it's going to the defilement. Let me see. I'm actually jump down a little bit. Actually, no, okay, let me pick back. I'm going to jump. This is First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 41. I start at verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all shall be one people. And guess what? He wrote that because why? He wanted Israel out of the way, weakened. The heathens know when we're weakened. They always pull a move when we're weakened. Verse 42. Everyone shall leave his own laws. And what? Jake left the laws of the Lord. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. And Jake was following right behind that shit. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. Yeah, and Jake was like, shit, let's go ahead. Jake was wearing togas, they was cutting the hair, but all of that. Jake was doing all of those things. Shaving the beard, shaving their head, doing all kinds of things. Living like the way of the Greeks. And sacrifice unto idols, and yeah. And you know what? These the Levites, the the ones who perform the sacrifices, the ones who's supposed to really be on top of the law. I mean, all Israel's supposed to be on top of the law, but the Levites are that. There was the intermediate, but the Levites was the law. The Levites are known by the law, known by the law. And they was going off. And then you had, now granted, you had other Jakes that was a part of that. It wasn't just Levi, but you had Israel as a whole going after the heathen in the sense of following their laws and customs, and that's exactly where the fuck we went off at. So, sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. And yeah, this is exactly what this is one of the biggest reasons that got us kicked out. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. And yeah, that's what Jacob was doing. They was polluting themselves. And that's what got us here today. The pollution of Israel, the pollution of yourself. And now we're trying to turn back from that, because we see what happens when we did that. We know we got our ass beat way too many times to not know what to do and not to do. And I'm just read a little bit more of this, and I'm gonna close out. Set up altars and groves and the chapels of idols. Sacrifice swine flesh and unclean beasts. Yeah, and Jacob was given unlawful sacrifices. There was burning offerings and strange offerings. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised. And we know the law on that. The uncircumcision and whatnot. Circumcision and whatnot. And made their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness. Uncleanliness. And profane nation. To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And guess what? This is some of the key things too, because there was some Jake that wanted to still trusted in the Heavenly Father, but what? To the end. I read that verse 50. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So you had Jake that still was doing the righteous things of the Heavenly Father, but what? And it's always crazy, because when you read in these stories, you had a lot of wicked Jake compared to a small remnant of Jake that still did the right thing. It's always been like that. There's always been a mass root of Jake that never wanted, that always was easily influenced by the heathen and went to do wicked things. But there always was a small portion that did the righteous things. In this sense, in this context, in this not day and age, in this context, in this Maccabees, there were some Jake that still kept the law of the Heavenly Father, that didn't sacrifice unto idols, that didn't burn strange incense, that didn't become Hellenized, and or didn't give themselves into the heathen. And guess what? They was going to be put to death. So you always got that. Just like it's a day and age. A lot of J's going to take the MOTB, but guess what? Those that don't going to be outlaws. They're not going to have the access to resources. That's where that trusting in the Lord comes in at. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it on that. You know, now granted, it's a lot of history in this Maccabees, but really, you know, this is what we went through, and what we somewhat going through today. But that Hellenization correlates to today because why? Jake's still doing the same shit, but the Lord's gonna put an end to that. And actually, that's it. That's it on that. But yeah, Lord willing, this video is edifying. Before I close out, I'd like to give all praise and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakodash. Lord willing, this video is edifying, and on to the next one. Shalom.